How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Friday, October 30th edition of the TV on Basketball podcast with your host, TV. Like I said, every Friday we're going to be having a guest, and I'm recording this after the fact, but to this week we're going to be having sports expert YT on the podcast. Very excited to talk with him about his Instagram page and why he decided to start it, and also we're just going to talk about some of the offseason moves that we believe, not like the teams are going to do, but where the players will go. So yeah, very fun recording this podcast. I'm going to have all of his links in my bio down below. And if you're here to support me, remember to follow at TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for updates on the podcast and for other content. Thank you guys for all your support on the new rebranding. And like I said, we're going to have lots of collabs coming over the next few weeks. And yeah, I'm just really excited for what's come next. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. So let's get right into it. We have the sports expert. How's it going, my guy?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. NBA offseason's coming up. You know, there's already news about the NBA season might be returning in December. Are you excited about that?
Yeah, I'm hearing they're going to try to stop it before like the Olympics start too, which is kind of great so we can see them play in the NBA and the Olympics maybe.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of like, and it's gonna be a really short offseason as well. So hopefully like the NBA gets back soon. And honestly, like we'll just get back to the normal schedule. Like I can't really imagine a season where we start like January like all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's gonna be weird when like we start during Christmas time and stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. But definitely we're both so excited for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, on today's podcast, we're gonna be talking about just like current like NBA stuff. We're gonna talk about the sports expert and where you can find him. All his links are gonna be in my link tree and also in my bio if you're gonna go check him out. I know he doesn't have his face here, but we're still gonna make this work. And we're going to have some good time talking about basketball. And as well, we're going to be talking about our 10 free agents that are going to be big this offseason and where we think they're going to go. But before we get into that, I have to do my plugging. Remember to follow at TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for updates on the podcast and for other content. If you're joining us on YouTube, remember to drop a subscribe button. Also, drop one on the Sports Expert YouTube channel, but I'm not sure if you post on that anymore.
Yeah, I'm kind of taking a break from posting on YouTube right now.
All right, it's all good, but still show him some love and check out his videos. And remember to check out his Instagram as well, which could be found in my bio. Yeah. Are you ready to talk some basketball?
I'm ready when you are. What do you want to do first?
All right, so we're gonna let's just talk about you, man. Like, obviously, you like haven't posted on YouTube for a while, and you told me before the show that you like shifted your focus into creating content for Instagram. How's that like?
Yeah, I kind of started focusing more on Instagram because I saw it as a better option for me. Because when I went back to YouTube, I actually left before I went back, and my channel wasn't doing as great as I hoped. Okay. So I started an Instagram account for it, and that started popping off, and now I'm just focusing on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, right now I believe you have over 18,000 followers. Am I correct?
Actually, we just hit 19K today.
Oh wow! Congrats, congrats, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, he just reached 19K. Like, awesome Instagram page if you guys want to check it out. And like, what type of stuff like do you like focus on? Like, what type of like content has gotten you like to like where you are at this point?
I mean, I like posting with like more opinion based, so people can actually talk in the comments on what they think what their opinion is.
Oh yeah. I mean, like obviously it's a good time, like the fan interaction and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And also, yeah, I love when people DM me their opinions so we can have conversations and stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's what kind of sports is all about, though. So, I mean, like having that conversation and stuff like that, and yours is a good place for that. I mean, you also do a lot of polls on your story as well. It's just a really good like Instagram page if you guys just want some really good NBA content. But yeah, like during this pandemic, like how has it like changed? Like, do you see yourself getting like more like interactions more than ever, or kind of like around the same?
I mean, I kind of was in my infancy, like before the pandemic started, maybe about last year I started. So I started to grow at the pandemic, maybe like right before that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually thought it would be a lot worse since basketball wasn't on, interest would go down, but it's actually been really good. So I'm happy for it.
Yeah. And are you doing any school right now while doing your basketball page?
Yeah, I'm in school right now. So it's kind of like I have to manage school and Instagram right now.
Yeah. Are you in high school?
Oh yeah, high school.
High school. Oh yeah. That's pretty cool. I mean, like obviously like there's like so many good platforms to like promote your basketball content. Like you used YouTube before, that didn't really work out, but Instagram has definitely been popping off for you lately. Like, have you thought of going into like other social medias, kind of like maybe Twitter, maybe?
Yeah, I'm slowly getting a Twitter page together and starting TikTok to like post videos and stuff. But other than that, nothing really right now. Everything's kind of in the works.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, there's just a lot of like awesome like places you can go for like talking about basketball and stuff, and like it's just getting better than ever. I mean, the NBA is becoming a lot more of a global game, not just here in the Americas, and it's just a good place for just like anywhere just to talk about it because there's always gonna be a conversation somewhere. So
Yeah.
yeah, but like where are you from, dude? Like where are you from?
I'm originally I'm around the Philadelphia area, so that's kind of where I'm from right now. Lifelong Sixers fan. I know we talked for the show about the Sixers and the Raptors since you're a Raptors fan, so yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, speaking of your Philadelphia 76ers, like how have you like what were your thoughts on this past season and like kind of the like I like I had big hopes for them coming into the season, and to be honest, this season was,
Yeah,
for lack of a
definitely
better
let
term,
down.
a mess. Like this was kind of like a mess
Uh,
this season. Like what are your thoughts on it?
definitely the most disappointing team in the NBA, in my opinion. I think they did horrible contracts. I'm glad they're getting new management. I just hope they have an offseason where they get rid of these contracts and try to get lower players. But
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people have like questioned Elton Brand and like his management for like the type of decisions they made. But a big change did happen for the 76ers so far this offseason. That is um, firing Brett Brown and bringing in Doc Rivers. How do you feel about having Doc Rivers as your new head coach?
I think it's definitely good to get someone who's like kind of more of a veteran coach in. I think he's definitely going to help with a little bit of shooting with Ben Simmons and just the Sixers in general because they're kind of weak right now in shooting. And I hope he has influence with Elton Brand too from GM.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, like obviously Doc Rivers kind of had that like unceremonious exit with the Clippers, but hopefully in a new situation in Philadelphia, having two of those two superstars in Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons,
Mm-hmm.
they're definitely gonna hopefully turn that ship around because honestly, like I'm gonna be for real with you. Like this past like season, like before the season started, I had the 76er team going to the finals. I
Yeah,
was
me too.
I was like so excited for this team, and then all the stuff like Joel Embiid kept getting injured early in the season. Al Horford honestly was terrible. I don't know,
Yeah.
like Al Horford did not play well at all this season, and it was just kind of like another one of those 76er type seasons where it's kind of like underwhelming to say the
Yeah.
least. And yeah, hopefully you guys can bounce back next year. I mean, and moving on to this, I mean, one of the guys that you had like last year talking about the Raptors 76ers series last from 2 years ago, Jimmy Butler, man. I mean, seeing him
Hmm.
go to the NBA Finals, how did you feel about Jimmy like in that whole playoff run?
I mean, I have two opinions on that. The first one, obviously coming from a Sixers fan, I'm sad that he wasn't with us because I think we could have done way better if he was still with us. But I'm also happy for him because I like him and I think he's a really good player and I think he deserves a ring.
Yeah, that Miami playoff run was absolutely
I mean, yeah, what did you
crazy.
think of it?
It was just um, honestly, it was something. If someone told me before these playoffs started that the Miami Heat like we're gonna go to the NBA Finals, I would not believe them in the slightest. And honestly, like that was such like a cool run. The way that they beat the number one seed in the Milwaukee Bucks. After that, being the Boston Celtics and taking the Lakers to 6 games, surprisingly, it was a hell of a ride. And Jimmy Butler definitely showed that he is like one of the top dogs in this league for sure. And speaking of your 76ers and stuff like that, there have been lots of rumors about like whether they should like choose Joel Embiid, choose between him and Ben Simmons. Maybe they should completely blow it up in general. Like, what do you think like is the biggest thing like when it comes to like these two stars for you? Like, would you try to keep it together with these two, or would you like maybe like try like switching up and like getting rid of one of them? If so, which one?
Um, Personally, I think the best option is to try to keep them together and see how they work under Doc Rivers. I think they just kind of need to get a surrounding cast that's really good for them because I don't think they have that right now and they kind of need the money for it too. So I think if you try them under Doc Rivers for a year with a decent team, they might do better. It's all about Ben Simmons, though, I think, working on his jump shot and getting
Yeah.
him to shoot more because I think Joel Embiid's already certified himself as a top two center in the league.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm continuing on with the offseason talk. Like, what would be kind of your ideal like offseason? Like, what type of like as a 76ers fan, like what type of like lineup would you feel comfortable with? Like saying, okay, like this roster can maybe make some noise in the East.
I think if they got Davis Bertans, you know him from the Wizards,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
good shooter. I think they put him at power forward. If they could somehow get Buddy Hield in a trade for like AI or Tobias Harris, and then they could have Josh Richardson at shooting guard, Ben Simmons at point guard, maybe Doc Rivers teaches him how to shoot, and then just Joel Embiid at center. I think that'd be a really good team.
yeah. Because the 76ers have honestly like looking like back at it like one of the most talented rosters if you just look at on paper. Like people like Tobias Harris, people like Al Horford, Josh Richardson, Simmons, Embiid, etc. But they just did not seem to mesh well together. And yeah, like you said, if you just get like more of those type of shooters, because I think that's like one of the biggest reasons as to why the 76ers couldn't really do well, because like all the times that you got like guys like made some noise in the playoffs. I mean, you had people like JJ Redick, you had people like Ilyasova, Bellinelli in the past as well, like who can like all hit shots, but you just did not have that like this year really. And yeah, we're gonna have to see and how that like turns out during this offseason. But like any like final thoughts on your team? Like, do you think that they're gonna be like back like in the finals picture when all is said and done? Like, do you think they're gonna be like one of the East contenders next year?
Um, Personally, I think it really depends on how this offseason goes because you have the Nets going back with KD and Kyrie. You're gonna have Giannis if he still stays on the Bucks, and then you're gonna have the Heat
Yeah.
with Jimmy. And I think there's gonna be some other teams that might be surprises too. But I think the East is gonna be really good this year. I think it's definitely gonna be hard for the Sixers to do well if they don't get a better team in the offseason.
Oh yeah. Like if you just look at our division, it's like move the Knicks aside. The Knicks are trash. The Knicks are
Yeah,
absolutely
they're
trash.
bad.
Like just
Terrible.
like move them aside. We have the 76ers, the Toronto Raptors, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Boston Celtics. Those
Mhm.
four teams in our division, like, it's just gonna be like absolutely crazy, and like it's gonna be like one of the most like intense divisions, if not the most intense division in basketball. Just not think about the Knicks. The Knicks are basically nothing in this.
Yeah, not even close.
You're not even close to us. But yeah, that's all the 76er talk. And I don't know about you. Do you want to do some off-season talk now?
I'm ready for you. Whatever you
Yeah.
want to do.
All right. Let's talk about this. Me and the sports. How do you want me to refer to you, by the way?
Just a sports expert.
Yeah. So me and the sports expert here, we have compiled a list of 10 to 11 potential free agents this offseason. We're gonna kind of discuss like where we think they're gonna go and what would be kind of the best scenario for them going forward. So I have a list of 10 guys here. I'm just gonna be rattling them off and
All
just
right.
give your thoughts on like where do you think they should go. You go with that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, we're gonna start with probably the most interesting unrestricted free agent this offseason, and we're gonna be talking about Toronto Raptors own Fred VanVleet,
All right.
coming off a 2-year contract, 2 years, $18 million, just a couple of seasons ago. He has played amazing in the NBA Finals just 2 years ago, and just last year he had a career year, and now he hits the free agent market where it
Uh,
it seems very very shallow if you look at the free agent pool. What do you think?
I think there's only really two options that seem obvious right now, and that's either the Raptors or New York Knicks.
Yeah.
I think he'll go to the Knicks because I think he thinks that his stock has definitely increased because of his performance, and I think he'll get a contract from the Knicks since they need a point guard and they have a lot of cap. I also think if he stays in the Raptors, he'd be a good fit there because they probably will offer him a bigger contract and he fits in their system pretty well. I mean, what do you think?
Um, for me, like I don't. Him going to the New York Knicks would be a very much Knicks move, and what I mean by that is you like the Knicks have like this aura around them, or at least they think they have this aura. Like they think they have this aura around them, where they say that they're New York. We're gonna attract the best free agents, but who was the last guy to really sign there? Like Amari Stoudemire. I think that was like the last guy I kind of remember like as a big free agent name. Maybe
Yeah.
Carmelo Anthony like signing that big contract. But besides that, like no one wants to go to New York. And Kevin Durant has said on multiple occasions, like New York, like just no one wants to go to New York right now. And if the Knicks spend like a bunch on Fred VanVleet, I just think that even as a Raptor fan, like is he really going to be like that worth it to be like your number one guy, which he would probably be on the New York Knicks. I just don't think it would be like a good idea. So if I was Fred VanVleet, I would just stick with the Raptors, take $20 million a year, and go to a system where you can win and you can succeed. But my question for you is like, what do you see? Like, what type of contract does Fred VanVleet have on the open market right now?
I'd say he's probably in the range of 15 to $20 million right now. I think the Knicks, if they pursued him, would definitely over because it's the Knicks and well, they're the Knicks.
Yeah,
I think he'd get a lesser contract from the Raptors too
yeah,
because I think they wouldn't. I mean, he's just in their system so well. I think he might take it because it's the Raptors, and I think you look at a team like the Knicks. I mean, even though they're offering more money, it's just gonna be such a struggle with them since they're all either young or just not very good.
yeah, for sure. And I like the way like I was looking at Twitter like over the past few days, and this NBA writer was talking about Fred VanVleet's contract, and he made a really good point. Like, what type like if you look at similar players to him on like teams, I think the best way to look at it is the Malcolm Brogdon contract, like when he signed with the Indiana Pacers last year, which was I believe a 4-year, $85 million deal. And do you think like Fred VanVleet is worth that much? I think that's kind of like the max peak that Fred VanVleet is, but I don't know about you.
I think like the Malcolm Brogdon contract is a great idea or like a great reference because it definitely shows how like players' stock can go up so high at one point and they can just drop off in value. And I
Yeah,
think Fred VanVleet is definitely a player you don't want to offer too big of a contract is because he's not like that next level all star. I think he's a very good player though.
yeah, oh
And
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
if I were the Knicks, I don't know. I probably wouldn't risk it on if I were him because I mean, he's gonna be like you said, he's gonna be the number one option there. So I would
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
maybe 15 to 20 million.
yeah. I believe around the same there too. Like I wouldn't try to pay him a bit more over 20 million just because like he is like he's a ceiling raiser. Like if you like look at like the superstars in the league, like if you add like just an example, if you add Russell Westbrook to the Knicks, like they're gonna be a playoff team just because Russell Westbrook like raises their floor. But if you have someone like Fred VanVleet, like you need to add him to like a good team with already like good pieces to like take them to like that championship level, and that's just not going to happen in New York. And yeah, I agree with you. Like he might take the money and stuff like that, like to go to New York, but all in all, like I just think like it's probably best for the Raptors to keep him, but I think it's also the best place for Fred VanVleet to stay.
Yeah. I think it's kind of in his mind if he really cares more about the money you're winning since he's already won a championship.
Oh yeah, for sure, and especially like being undrafted and all that,
Mhm.
like not getting like his money in the past, like it definitely makes sense if he wants to get that bag, and I
Yeah, I'd
respect.
understand that.
Yeah, I definitely understand it. You want to move on to the next free agent?
Yep.
All right. This one I don't think will be as long as Fred VanVleet because it seems kind of obvious where this guy's going. But let's talk about Brandon Ingram. And he is a restricted free agent. He did not get that contract extension last year with the New Orleans Pelicans. Where do you think he's going to do you think there's any chance that he's going to not stay with the Pelicans?
Oh no, I think he's gonna stay with the Pelicans because I think he started to pop off this year, and with Zion probably gonna be around this whole season, I think it's a given that he'll just stay with the team because that's gonna be a really good duo.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like winning most improved, obviously, like him averaging 24 points a game, over 5 rebounds, over 5 assists. He's definitely like I feels like every player that moves out of the Lakers, like just becomes a better player. Like speaking of like D'Angelo Russell, speaking of Jordan
Yeah.
Clarkson, like Brandon Ingram has like had that same effect. And
Mhm.
even if it doesn't work out with him and Zion, like it would be stupid to let him go for just nothing.
Yeah,
Like
I definitely sign him to a deal and try to get value for him because I think he's definitely a good player and he kind of reminds me of like a younger KD within the sense because of like how he's like his size and how he plays.
oh yeah, this guy he's like almost 7 foot tall and can literally shoot over anyone. Like you would want him on your team, hundred
Yeah.
percent. Like, but my like question this here is like, do you think he's worth the max? Because like there's a lot of like a lot of questions like, do you want to like invest like all your max money to him, or do you think he's like somewhere around the 25 million like range instead of like 30 plus?
I'd say I'd say I don't think he's a max player yet. I think maybe you sign him to a 2-year deal, see what he does, and maybe down the line if they're still good enough and he's still performing well, you sign him to a max. But right now I say he's like a 25 to $30 million player.
Yeah,
What-
I definitely agree with that. he definitely struggled in the bubble. I think this entire Pelicans team kind of struggled in the bubble, so it's kind of like unfair to them. But with them, I mean, we didn't even really talk about this, but they brought in a new head coach, Stan Van Gundy, just the other day.
Yeah, I
And
saw that.
yeah, and maybe he can like get something out of the Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson duo, because this is kind of like all or nothing for the Pelicans, because they put on all their assets to build around Zion, and they at this point they can't like there's no reason to let go of Brandon Ingram, so they're gonna have to make it work. And like you said, I mean, maybe he's not worth max money yet, but I would still definitely try to sign him long term.
Yeah, they also have like a really good team around them with like players like Lonzo Ball, where it's just this really, really good young team who they can build around and stay around for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And especially with like, Drew Holiday's still in the mix. There's a lot of rumors about him maybe being traded to another team. So maybe you can bring in another young asset that way. Pair
Yeah,
him, they still have Jackson Hayes and all that. Like you're absolutely right. They have like an extremely young team, and there's no reason to like get rid of like your leading scorer from this season to like kind of go away from that plan. So I'm
yeah,
assuming we're both in agreement that there's just no way he's not going to be on the Pelicans next season.
yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we talked about Brandon Ingram. Let's move on to the next NBA free agent, and that is going to be Montrezl Harrell, who comes
Mhm.
off a very much like troubling bubble. Obviously, he lost his grandmother right before the bubble started. Hope he's still doing well, and he didn't really like get like a good run in the bubble as well. He didn't have the best stats, but he's still reigning six man of the year. He still was on that really good Clippers team. Sports expert, what do you think? Like, where do you think that Montrezl Harrell will go? Because there's a lot of different choices he has at his disposal.
I know. I think I definitely take two long shot teams here, or two teams you wouldn't automatically think of.
Okay.
I
Okay.
said either the Hornets or the Raptors.
Wow.
I
Okay.
said there. Yeah, I know it's.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's gonna go to the Hornets for the money because I think they definitely need like a big man presence since like they don't, I mean who are they gonna have? Cody Zeller. He's
Cody
not.
Zeller. Yeah,
He's
that's
that.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for the Raptors, it really depends because like when Marcus Gasol kind of starts to lay off, and he said he wanted to retire in like the foreign league and stuff. I think
Yeah.
kind of need a big man, and I think if he puts Gunn on a starting role, he could be definitely a decent big man. And what do you think?
As a Raptor fan, I would not mind him depending on the deal. I think a big reason as to why this rumor even started was I'm not sure if you saw this, but like he like named his like youth basketball team the like California Raptors or something. I'm
Hmm.
not sure if you saw that. Like,
No,
did
I
you
did
see that?
not see that. That's
Oh
funny.
yeah. Yeah, that's hilarious because so basically what it was like he was like just promoting his youth basketball team, and all of a sudden you just see like the old Raptors logo on it, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's actually going to the Raptors."
Hmm.
He even followed the Raptors page on Instagram as well, so that's where all these like rumors even started from. But from a Raptors perspective, especially if Marcus Gasol leaves, I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, reigning six man of the year, almost averaging 20 points a game, over 7 rebounds, like he's a damn good player, and he does fit into the Raptors, working hard mentality. Like he'll play with a lot of effort and stuff like that. And I just think like he'll fit the vibe. But you don't think like the Clippers are gonna bring him back at like in any stretch of the imagination?
I mean, I definitely think there's always obviously the option of the Clippers bringing him back. I just don't know what he thinks he's gonna do because of money and stuff. I mean, it depends on how much the Clippers offer them since they have like PG under their contract and Kawhi under their contract. So
Oh, yeah, it's definitely gonna be an interesting it's be interesting to like where he would go. I
yeah,
was kind of like along the lines of like where you were saying, like I was actually gonna choose like the Charlotte Hornets myself just because of the money.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, that was like gonna be like my number one option because I just don't see like many teams like offering him like what
A
he
big
wants,
contract. Yeah.
like what he wants. Like, what do you think like his like value is on the open market?
I'd say I think it's like a kind of a wider range, maybe like 10 to 20 million dollars right now. I think if the Hornets were to offer him a contract, just like we said with Fred VanVleet, it might be more because I think the Hornets might be a little more desperate. I think the Clippers will probably under offer 10 to 20 million right now because they might not need him as much. And then I think the Raptors would offer somewhere in that range because they
Yeah.
do they do need another big man. And yeah, what do you think?
Um, I just think that like you said, like these teams like the Hornets and stuff like that are definitely gonna like be like over buyers on the market, and with this like very not very deep free agent class, Montrezl Harrell is just like one of those names that just stand out. Obviously, like with like, him having two really good seasons back to back, and I kind of agree with you. Like if he was going to go to like a bad team, such as the Charlotte Hornets, obviously like the Knicks are going to be in the mix for every sort of free agent there. They're just going to be like it's just going to be around like the 15 to 20 million range, which I could definitely imagine. But if he wants to like fight for championships stuff like that, he's going to have to take some sort of a pay cut. And if I'm the Raptors, if you can get him for maybe 12, 13 mil a year, I don't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, that's definitely a good deal for them.
Yeah. So yeah, let's just move on to the next free agent. We're gonna talk about another Raptor player. We're gonna be talking about Serge Ibaka. He just came off a 3-year 60. I think it was a 3-year $60 million deal that he signed with the Raptors back in the day, and now he is an unrestricted free agent. Where do you think someone like a Serge Ibaka is gonna go this offseason?
I think he's gonna stay with the Raptors personally. I think he fits well there, and I think he could be like kind of a high value since he's a veteran big man, and they have to start competing with teams in the East like the Nets and the Sixers and the Celtics and the Heat. And yeah, I think he's definitely gonna stay with the Raptors because it works best for him. What about you?
Um, with Serge Ibaka, as a Toronto Raptor fan, I would love to have him back. If it was between him and Marc Gasol, I would definitely choose Serge Ibaka. And he's just one of those big men that just kind of fit today's NBA. I mean, he's definitely not the defensive player of the like the all defensive player that he once was in OKC, but he's like a definitely a better 3-point shooter. He could definitely like still give you over 14, 15 points a night. Like I just think it's like in the best interest of the Raptors to bring him back. But like you said, I mean, there's like he's an unrestricted free agent. He can literally go anywhere, and I think like a lot of like the teams either like on the brink of like a championship team, like near like championship level or something like that, or is going to offer Serge Ibaka some big money. I mean, like not like big money, just because he's kind of like on the older side of things, but he has definitely a lot of people who are going to be going after him. Like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, like um, did you did you mention like any other teams besides the Raptors, or like do you think?
No, I think it probably the Raptors. I really couldn't think of another option that would make a bunch of sense for him. You know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like sure, like like I said, he's still gonna be a big contributor to the team. And with Marcus Gasol looking like he's gonna go to the Spanish league to finish off his career, it definitely looks like Serge Ibaka is like gonna be a high priority for this Raptor team. So yeah, let's move on to the next free agent, and we're gonna be talking about Danilo Gallinari. Yes, he is going on the free agent market, averaging near 20, I believe, like near 20 points a game. Played for the Oklahoma City Thunder team last year, who completely defied expectations, and it looks like he's gonna be another one of those, not superstar type players, but he's definitely a player that a lot of good teams would want. Where do you think that Danilo Gallinari is gonna go?
I think this actually kind of bases off Chris Paul. I think if Chris Paul stays with OKC, then I think he'll stay too. But I think if Chris Paul gets traded or leaves, I think that Danilo Gallinari might go to the Heat. Honestly, I think it's a really good option for him there, and I think it like add to the Heat's already very good young core.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like he like honestly feels like he's the type of player where if you have like a near championship like caliber team, like speaking of the Heat, speaking of the Celtics, you would absolutely love to have someone like Danilo Gallinari there. Someone who is tall, who can shoot the three ball, can basically shoot from anywhere, and who's like not a horrible defender. Like he is definitely a good piece for like anyone's team. Like
Yeah.
one of my options I thought like would be like a kind of good idea is maybe a reunion with him going back to the Denver Nuggets. I think they have a lot of young guys like on that team, with Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, and all that, and with Paul Millsap coming off the Bucks. I mean, I think someone like a Danilo Gallinari either to be their sixth man or to just like fill off like one of those forward positions. I think will be a very good option for the Denver Nuggets, who are right like at the edge of title contention, especially with the really good bubble that they had just that just passed by. So I mean, a lot of teams are gonna want Danilo Gallinari, and I like the point you made. I mean, Chris Paul, like, it's probably like a big determining factor in all this. I don't know about you. I think he's probably gonna be traded because I mean, I don't think there's like really much, like they just I think the OKC just needs to kind of go full on the rebuild. But
Yeah.
but I think like yeah, Danilo Gallinari is definitely gonna have a lot of suitors for him. But yeah, speaking of Chris Paul, like just quick thoughts on this. Do you like where do you think he's gonna get traded? There's a lot of like rumors going around about that.
I don't know. I've heard a couple rumors. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if he went to the Sixers and like Ben Simmons saw a tie that deal. I think that would be crazy. I think maybe if he went to the Knicks and the Knicks put their whole farm in for him, I think that would also be crazy. But I mean, where do you think he might get traded?
I know like this rumors kind of popped up quite a bit, but him going to the Los Angeles Lakers
Hmm.
seems kind of like I think the best option for him, especially like all like if you just think of like the type of IQ that him and LeBron would just have together, that
Yeah,
would
that'd be
just
crazy.
that would be absolutely crazy. And I
Yeah, they're both very good playmakers, so it'd be like it would be crazy to have LeBron and Chris Paul who could both bring up the ball at any time.
yeah, for sure. But here's another like team that I've heard in the rumors, like the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, what do you think? Like, if the Milwaukee Bucks have the resources to trade for Chris Paul, how do you think that he would fit in on that team?
I think if Milwaukee want to trade for them, they should definitely try to keep Giannis. They might have to give up a player like Chris Middleton or Eric Bledsoe to get that Chris Paul level of talent. But I
Yeah.
think it would definitely be worth it if they could pull it off.
Oh yeah, yeah. Chris Middleton, I would not really trade for Chris Paul, but Eric Bledsoe, maybe throw in like a Pat Connaughton or something like that. Like players like that, the Thunder could see as kind of like good assets for like down the line. It will definitely, I think, be enough, especially with that big contract Chris Paul has. I think that wouldn't be a bad option for him whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Danilo Gallinari, we think that he's probably going to be out of OKC, especially if Chris Paul gets traded. Let us know below what you guys think. Where some of these free agents are going to go. We're going to continue on. We're going to go on to a less no name. We're gonna talk about the Detroit Pistons, Christian Wood. And to preface about this free agent, I mean, he was an absolutely underrated player this season. Probably the Pistons' second or third best player. You can like make the argument between him and Derrick Rose. And just recently on an IG live, he asked the question, "Where do you guys want me to go this offseason?" So it doesn't look like he wants to stay in the Detroit Pistons. Where do you think like a player like Christian Wood would be good? Like, where do you?
I think yeah, first of all, Christian Wood definitely one of the most underrated players this year. Definitely surprised a lot of people. His stock definitely rose. And I think it's definitely a long shot pick, but I'd probably say I think his option is going to be the Atlanta Hawks. I think if
Oh,
you
no,
pair him
that's
with
really
Trey Young,
that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah.
I think if you pair him with Trey Young, I think that's going to be really nice and it would add to their young core of players who are kind of developing. So I think they could be maybe a potentially decent team this year if they add Christian Wood. What about you think?
My only concern with the Atlanta Hawks is that they already have Clint Capella and John Collins, so I think that front court is kind of like heavy at the front. But for someone like Christian Wood, who I'm just looking at his stats right now, 13 points a game, 6 rebounds, over like 56% from the field, over 38% from three. Like this guy is actually like an absolute baller, and I could see him like going on a team like just to throw it out there, maybe I know I'm thinking like this, like the Utah Jazz or the San Antonio Spurs, something like that. Like I know
Yeah.
one of those two teams. I just like the Utah Jazz because like he is someone who can like kind of spread the floor a little bit, but who can also, do like the little things on the perimeter as well. Like he could like him beside Rudy Gobert. I think at least he's more of an offensive threat than Rudy. And like for someone like the Spurs, I mean like we don't know if they really want to like disband their team yet or anything. And if you're like going like away from a Marcus Aldridge, I think someone like Christian Wood, who's still relatively young, I mean he's only 25 years of age, mix him in with your young group. I think that would also be a good option for him. But
Yeah.
his stock definitely rose because especially like he was just in the G League just 2 years ago as well. He definitely has made a name for himself, and I'm excited to see where he's going to go. And it kind of sucks for Pistons fans because knowing a few of them, they thought that like Christian Wood is kind of like their one building block piece that they want to keep, and now it sounds like he doesn't even want to be there. So
Yeah, that's definitely unfortunate for them. And I think if he were to leave, I definitely think it would upset some Pistons fans.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, their team is already a mess. I mean, Blake Griffin was basically injured this entire year. They have really not a lot of assets. I mean, Derrick Rose is their best player, and not to be like no hate to like one of my favorite players in Derrick Rose, but if you have Derrick Rose as like your leading scorer of your team, I mean, in this current NBA climate, it's just not a good look.
It's not gonna work because I mean it's not like prime Derrick Rose or MVP Derrick Rose. I mean he's definitely still good and definitely still a great player to have on your team. It's just not that MVP level right now.
Yeah, for sure. And if you lose that like one of your building blocks in Christian Wood, I mean, it just like it spells a disaster for the Detroit Pistons. So let's see what's gonna happen. I mean, I have a feeling the Detroit Pistons will try their very best to keep him, but if he says he wants to leave, I mean, a lot of teams are going to be lined up to try and gain his services. We're going to move on to the next player, and we're going to be talking about Davis Bertans. We talked about him like going to as a possible look for your Philadelphia 76ers. Are you going to stick with that, or do you think he'll like end up on a different team, or maybe the Washington Wizards?
I think he'll go to the Sixers, honestly. I think the Sixers need a shooting big man. They have Joel Embiid, who's a good shooting big man, but Davis Bertans is just that next level right now for a power forward who can shoot. And I think if they don't put Ben Simmons at power forward, they're gonna need someone there because I mean Al Horford's just not cutting it right now. I think the Sixers might overpay for him too.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. Again, one of those players who definitely like bursted onto the scene this year. He was also in the 3-point contest, if you remember. So like, he definitely got some buzz for being a part of that. And he's definitely earned himself some money, averaging 15 points a game this year, 4 rebounds, over 42% from the 3-point line. This guy's just an absolute like 3-point sniper, and he'll definitely be like one of those guys that um, will be like helpful to a lot of teams. But I think it's honestly I think he'll honestly stay with the Washington Wizards, especially with the fact that Bradley Beal wants to stay. John Wall is finally going to be coming back from his injury this year. I think they're going to just want like just someone who they could just constantly rely on to hit the three ball. And Davis Bertans is one of the best in the league at doing that. So I think the Wizards would be making a mistake for just letting him walk. And even so, if it doesn't work out, if you sign him, he could definitely be traded away. But my question for you is, I mean, when you look at Davis Bertans, who just looks like to be a very good shooting big man, I mean, how much, like, especially since you're a Sixer fan, like, how much are you willing to pay for him? I mean, I've heard like some reports saying that he might be asking for near $15 million. Like, are you willing to like? Do you think your team will be willing enough to pay that much, or would you try to like get him on a lower deal?
As a Sixers fan, I think a 10 to $15 million range is good if we can somehow free up contracts and get some money. But I personally think he's in the stock of $1 to $10 million, anywhere in there. He's probably on the higher side of that 10 million range, but yeah, I think the Sixers will definitely overpay for them if they have enough money because I think they really need him as a position. I think he'd be perfect on their team. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Like just like creating room for Joel Embiid, just the fact that he's just ready to shoot at all times, and I mean he's not a horrible defender. I know the Wizards were like one of the worst defensive teams this year. I believe ranking either dead last or second to dead last, but he wasn't bad, and he was also like still like one of their top scorers. So I actually
Yeah.
like the idea of him going to the Philadelphia 76ers, but him staying on the Washington Wizards I think would just make the most sense for him.
Yeah,
Uh,
where do you see his like price range around? Because you mentioned 15 million you might ask for, and I said 110. What do you think he's at worth?
um, I wouldn't pay more than like for a specialty player like him. I mean, he's not young, but he's also not old. I would say maybe around the $12 million range, especially because he is like one of the better shooters in the league. But we also have to keep in mind, I mean, the Wizards were just a bad team in general last year. I mean, was he just good because he just had the shots to take, or do you think like he can like, or is it possible for him to actually like replicate that type of production on another team? And you said that, he would fit really well with the 76ers, and I definitely agree with that. But will we have that same type of effect? We'll have to wait and see. But definitely, he definitely played his way into a pretty big contract, and like around the $12 million range. Like 15, I think is a bit much, but 10 to 12 definitely sounds just about right for Davis Bertans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next um, free agent, and we're going to be talking about NBA finalist Goran Dragic, who couldn't play much in the NBA Finals due to that injury, but is still a free agent on the market. Where do you think he's going to end up placing?
I think this might kind of be more than one of the obvious people we talk about. I think he's going to stay with the Heat. I think he doesn't really have a lot of reason to leave the Heat. I think he's also kind of at that age where he's going to start thinking about retirement age because he's 34, and
Yeah.
I think the Heat value him very well, and I think he fits really well into their system.
Yeah, and like the question is like you talked about it. He's 34 years old. I mean, how much are teams are willing to pay a 34-year-old? Yes, he was the leading scorer on a NBA finalist team in the Miami Heat, but you do not want to, you know, like sign him to a long-term deal, knowing like his age and stuff. But I could still definitely see him like getting like over $10 million just because he is a very good scorer and he was honestly, like you said, one of the best players for the Heat during this playoff run. But I have to agree with you with the fact that I think the Heat are gonna try to keep him around. I mean, he was one of their big pieces as to why they were able to have such a good playoff run, and it would be kind of stupid to let him go after such a good run. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you there. But do you think that Goran Dragic is the type of player to sign a small term deal to return to the Heat or like to like another one of those championship teams?
I think I think Goran Dragic is definitely the type of player. I think the Heat value him very well. I think he likes the Heat a lot. I think they would definitely offer him a good contract. And I think he's probably in the like 5 to 15 million range, which I know the 15 million is probably a little bit higher than most people think. I think it's definitely would be worth it if you found him at like 12 to 13 million dollars. I mean, what do you think his worth is?
It's weird, like you said about the price, but I have to agree with you. 12-13 million dollars, especially if it's on like a 2-3 year deal maximum. I think it's like not horrible like that. Like okay, if it like turns out bad, it's not untradeable. But also like he's still a good player, so he definitely want to keep him on the books. So I have to agree with you there. He definitely is going to stay with the Heat, and I think the 12 to 13 million dollar range definitely does make sense. We have a few more free agents here. We're gonna talk about like one more potentially big one. We're gonna be talking about Jeremy Grant, who just played for the Denver Nuggets this past season. Had a really good second round series against the Los Angeles Clippers, and was a big reason as to why they were able to upset them. And now he becomes a free agent. I mean, he has a player option of $9.5 million, so maybe he'll accept it. But I think after that playoff run, he's expecting more money. So, say if he declines his player option, do you think he'll end up staying with the Nuggets, or do you think he'll end up somewhere else?
I think it really depends on money with him because I think they have a really good thing going with him right now with like all this pop with Jamal Murray popping off in the playoffs and Nikola Jokic kind of upgrading in his skill level, and I think they have a really good team around them right now. I think it definitely depends on how much money they offer him and how much they value Jeremiah Grant.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if he didn't stay with the Nuggets, I think he could go to a team like OKC, or I think go to a team like the Heat, one of those two teams.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like his skill set, I think, is something like very valuable in the NBA. Someone who is able to take on your team's best player. I mean, the second and third round, he had to like guard up Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and then in the conference finals, he had to defend LeBron James. That's no easy task, and he did his best, and he was still able to produce on the offensive end. Which honestly, that was like the surprising part for me during his playoff run. I mean, there were just some games, like even against like the Los Angeles Lakers, where I believe like in one of the losses he scored like 26 points or something. Like he played like a big role in that team, and like I mean 9.5 million. I mean it seemed like a lot before the season for Jeremy Grant, but after seeing him play the way he did during this playoff run, it definitely does make sense that if he would like he would ask for more money for sure, especially like with 9.5 million being his player option. But I think he'll end up staying with the Nuggets. I mean, the Nuggets, I think, would just like want to keep someone like him who doesn't need the ball in his hands all the time. And I think just like he's just a really good fit beside Jokic and Murray.
Yeah.
But like you said, like I mean, there are other teams if he decides to go somewhere else. I mean, the Heat seem like I think the Heat seem like an ideal place for a lot of these role players, like in this free agency class. And Jeremy Grant is just one of them, and he definitely will just fit their system. and he definitely
Yeah,
works hard
yeah.
on. He definitely works hard on both ends, and I think he'll be like a very good player for just like for any team that signs him. To be completely honest, so yeah,
Yeah.
I like that idea. So you have him going to the Heat or Nuggets. I mean, just him staying on the Nuggets just seemed like the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to kind of these two players because like this, like we said in the beginning, this is not a very deep free agency class. All the juicy players that are going to become free agents are going to be part of that 2021 class, which is going to be very exciting. But the final two players we're going to kind of talk about, we're going to kind of mix them in together because they're both in similar situations. We have Dwight Howard, NBA champion, and we also have Carmelo Anthony, both guys who looked like they were out of the league before the season, and look like who have resurrected their careers and like earned themselves another contract. Just quickly, like where do you think where these two guys could go?
First off, I'll start off with Dwight Howard. I think I think there's only two options really for him right now, and it kind of depends on the draft. I think his first option, his best option would be the Lakers because
Yeah,
he played his role there really well in the playoffs, and I think his second option is the Warriors, and that depends on if they draft James Wiseman or not. And if they don't draft him, I think they're going to need a big man. And I think if Dwight Howard really wants to go to a team where he can probably be a little bit more of a bigger role, I think he'll definitely do it. Because I mean, I don't know if you saw us on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, but did you see Shaq making fun of him?
oh yeah. Wasn't he talking about like how like he was talking too much for like winning an NBA championship or something, or was it something
Yeah,
else?
he said something about him not like contributing a lot and said that he should shut up and sit down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he definitely deserved one after all the stuff he did in the early 2010s and how good he was back then.
Yeah, and he definitely I mean, the Lakers wouldn't even have signed a guy if it wasn't for the DeMarcus Cousins injury before the season, and
Hmm.
he played especially an awesome role against the Denver Nuggets here. So he definitely earned himself another contract. For Dwight Howard, I think like just run it back with the Lakers. I mean, they gave you a chance already. I think they wouldn't mind having you back again as either a backup or a starting position. I just think he'll probably stay with the Lakers. What do you think about Carmelo Anthony here? Because he had a very good scoring year, but it's like, do you think like any other team but the Blazers are going to give him a chance?
I've when I was researching, I saw that he kind of said himself that he wants like a bigger role and he wants to be more important to teams. Because I mean, it's not like he wasn't important to the Blazers. It's just I think he wants to be more of like the guy like he used to be on the Knicks. And I think we're gonna see you reunite with the Knicks. I think he might go back to the Knicks.
So
They try to pull some things in the offseason.
yeah, that would be a very nice thing to do. But honestly, like Carmelo Anthony is way past that point in his career where I think that he could be like a number one or two guy. If he like really wants to stay in the league, I think he stays at the Portland Trailblazers and just continues to do the role that he did like this season, like just score when you need to, but also like the offense doesn't have to run through you all the time. Like what are your thoughts on just like Melo as a player now? Like, do you think like he's still like capable of being that like one or two option, or do you think like the best role for him is kind of what he did with the Blazers this year?
I think his best option, even though he said he wants a bigger role, I think his best option is probably either at the best his second is the best role for him, maybe. But I think he fits kind of more into a third role now, or maybe even a fourth role. I think he's definitely out of his prime by far, and I think that even though he's saying he wants a bigger role and he thinks he can prepare for it, I don't really see him like performing at the level that he used to.
Yeah, I mean, like it wasn't that long ago that the Houston Rockets tried signing him to a contract and let him go after 13 games. That was just 2 seasons ago,
Yeah.
and he basically didn't play for the rest of that season. So the Portland Trailblazers gave him a chance, and I think like even though he averaged I think like 16 points a game this year, I mean, I just don't think like any other team would like trust that Melo will like will want to have that role on any other team. So if I'm Melo, just stick with the Blazers. Continue to show that you want to be that role player type, and hopefully, like you can like gain yourself another contract, not just for this season, but for like, seasons going forward. But it's like really interesting with like these older guys. I mean, these guys like we talked about Dwight Howard and Melo. It looked like they were out of the league just like a year ago, but now they've been able to find their way back into the league and have prominent roles on good teams. So, it was they've had a long road back, and they've definitely like earned their spot in this league. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, what do you like? What were your thoughts on like just like like their whole like redemption story from this season? So
Wait for Dwight Howard and Carl Anthony.
yeah, like both of them. Yeah,
I think it was definitely like a bigger story for Dwight Howard with winning the championship and playing a role in that team. Even though it may have not been the biggest, I think he still played a role. I think Carmelo Anthony may have been a little more quiet, but I think it was still definitely good to see them both like kind of doing what they used to do. Obviously not prime or anything. It just I think it was definitely great to see them performing at least decent again. I mean, what did you think was really those
I
stories?
mean, I have to agree with you. The White Howard story was definitely like a lot more. Um, it was like definitely a lot more intriguing to me, especially because he was on a championship team, and he definitely played a bigger role like he played a huge role in that Denver Nuggets series, especially. So he definitely like deserves to be there. I mean, I know Shaq said that shouldn't be talking much, but he was a huge part of that team, like even being able to go to the finals. So I mean, let them be champions, man. I mean, that's all that like. I mean, they earned it. I mean, if they're gonna talk, I mean that this is like their like one time where I believe it's valid. Like, I mean, they won the championship. It's probably like they definitely like probably deserve it, like for sure. So, I mean, Shaq has always been that type of player to like put down Dwight and stuff. So it kind of makes sense. But at the same time, Dwight definitely like deserved that championship.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, those are all the free agents we discussed. Let me know in the comment section of this video of my Instagram. Where do you think where these free agents are gonna go? And I think this is a good place to end today's podcast. Thank you for coming on, Sports Expert.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. I'm glad I was here. I'm glad I got to talk with you about free agency. I'm glad we did this. It was a good time.
Yeah. Just anything you want to talk about, any plugging you want to do before we sign off?
Not really. I think we got everything we need to talk about in.
Yeah. So yeah, all of his link to his Instagram is going to be in my link tree, and also in the bio, in the description of this podcast. So please check him out. That'd be very much appreciated. And yeah, I'm very excited for the future this off season, what's going to be, and just excited for NBA basketball in general. We're going to have a guest a week on this podcast, so please look out for that. And one last time, thank you, Sports Expert, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, awesome. So this is where we're gonna end today's podcast. Thank you guys for watching / listening. Remember to follow all my social medias at TVonbasketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Show some support on the YouTube and podcast. And I will talk to you guys on Monday for a new podcast. So we're gonna be signing out today. Hope you all have a fantastic day. Take it easy, guys. Peace.